Welcome to Gerd, a load of this.
We have a title.
You want?
All right. So we tried to do Divine Shallows for our first week of September book club. It didn't go so well for me. I DNF'd it.
I I stuck it through, but I did give it a whopping 2 stars. So it wasn't for me. The dialogue was really shallow for the characters I think it mattered most, and then the plot really we really didn't get to go anywhere, and I was so hoping that it would be different. But in the end, it wasn't. So maybe the second book will be better. I don't know. It's definitely slated for sequels or more than that. We'll see.
I think for me, I was just very confused off the beginning because like everyone's name started with an E,
And that
and
did
they were
not
like
get better.
fancy names. It wasn't like Ethan and Evan. Like it was
Even the realm
it was all like
was
these fancy
started with an
fantasy
E.
E names, and they all started to merge together, and I couldn't keep track of who was who, and that's really
That
what
is
did it in for me.
That's realistic. I was on vacation while I was reading this, and I ended up, for lack of a better word, hate reading it. So I was having a good time for that alone. So, maybe somebody else will like to pick it up, but I stuck it through because I was like, I have nothing else to do. Might as well just add it to my yearly goal to really get up there on Fable and Goodreads.
I mean, it has a 4.2 on Goodreads, which is pretty good. So if anyone is interested,
I would
do you
check
want to
out the
give a synopsis?
synopsis. Yeah, in a mythical realm, two Fae sisters' fate intertwines as one is denied divine power while the other inherits the throne, challenging tradition and reshaping destiny.
I know we just
Ye-
really sold it, but other people like it, so you might too.
Yeah, no. I think I am you if you know anything from listening to the past few episodes, I am really, really big on plot points and dialogue. And this one was like, here's a book in the realm. And if people like a book in a mythical realm, then that may just be the place you want to escape to.
On that similar note, I also read an arc of This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. It was supposed to be released in September, but I think it got delayed to October. Um, and it is also, I think the setting is really interesting in this one because it is comparable to Shrek. All
Hmm.
right, think like when you go to Far Far Away in the second movie and Donkey's looking
There's like,
around and there's like a Starbucks and an Old Navy. They're just not called
mm,
Starbucks and Old Navy. And it's like
okay.
it's
I kind of
medieval.
like that.
It's medieval and it's fantasy, but they tie in quote modern things that we see
Like
through the
pop
use of
culture.
magic.
Okay.
So like they have like it sounds like texting or emailing, but it's definitely done through magical means. They don't have like
Hmm.
a cell phone. So it's interesting. I know there was a lot of negative reviews because of that concept, but I
Might have
thought it
like
was
killed the atmosphere a
interesting.
little bit.
I mean, yeah, it's still a medieval realm, and fantasy is a very vague term. Like fantasies make believe. Just because it
Yeah.
doesn't fit in their box of fantasy. Like it's advertised as Shrek esque.
Hmm.
So I don't. I enjoyed that concept. It was very interesting to me, and it was fun. This isn't like a serious novel, all right? This is a fun adventure. So I think that fit. The blurb is a group of friends going on a quest to save a princess slash realm 10 years prior to this book. Haven't talked since. And this book is kind of them coming back together for the princess's wedding.
Hmm.
And so we find out why they haven't talked to each other in 10 years and what happened on the quest and going through all their traumas. So
Ooh, we love a good little friend split.
I say it's like a funny good time, but it's also not. So I don't I don't know. They lighten it up, but it's also
The
just
worst best thing.
it. Yeah, it's a bunch of trauma and stuff. My issue. I was super excited for this book. Right, it sounds like a good time, but
Well,
the
and you love Shrek, let's not
yeah,
forget.
it was like it was genuinely fun. Like it was is different. It was refreshing to me. But the plot did not come in until 40%. Like
Red flag and
in
Garden Land.
in the blurb it tells you that this quest is to go to the princess's wedding. We do not get to the princess's wedding until 40%. The
That's
whole
like,
beginning is the friends getting there. And even
hmm,
that, like the travel itself was a couple of chapters. It was really just really heavy introduction chapters to each friend and like
okay. So
in
maybe it
their
would have been
depths and like we
better as
spend the
like
60% pulling them
a
out of their
TV show.
depths. It would have been a really fun movie to watch. It was just a little slow for me.
Hmm.
And because this main quest that we keep referring back to and we're pulling all this trauma from was 10 years ago, and it's brought up so much so the reader can understand what's going on and have context. But it started to feel like I was left out of an inside joke. I don't really know
Oh.
how else to explain it, but because
No, I think that makes sense.
I really enjoyed the characters. I really liked them, and I was like getting attached to them. And they kept bringing this stuff up, and I'm like, I wish I was
Let
there.
me
I wish
in
I had like
on
been there. And so
it.
I just kind of like started feeling like I was left out, and it felt like maybe there should have been a prequel book. Obviously, if there's a prequel book, this would have been very
So
repetitive in this book,
maybe if you
but
like um not so juicy fly on the wall situations.
yeah. It was a good time for sure. It was interesting. It just started to feel a little odd with
Mm.
the whole I just teaching us what happened without having been there. Like it's just weird because it is so built on that quest from 10 years ago. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this thing happened. It's not a big deal, but this thing happened. It was like really prominent that it happened.
I can imagine
Um
that like a prequel coming out after this would be very helpful.
yeah, I would read that for sure.
Well,
Even though
that's good to
you
know.
know what happens though, so maybe not. But
Yeah, but I mean, maybe it gives you a little bit more insight, and then a reread would be good.
yeah, because I enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed the world. The plot was a little bit slow, and then yeah, I kind of felt left out for not having been at that quest 10 years ago.
Hmm.
It's also a good read, I guess, because I know a lot of people look for older main characters. They don't want to read about 18-year-olds all day.
Yes, we love emotionally
And
torn
so,
people.
they're in their 20s 10 years ago, so now they're in their 30s.
Dang, it's like the It reunion.
um, yeah, and then I had it on my TBR for September. I did finish Zodiac Academy.
Nice. Number 9.
Yeah. Um, I'm not gonna go into all of that because wow, if you know, you know. Otherwise, I'm not spoiling it. It's 9 books. I'll just say the ending was very satisfying for
Love
all of
that.
the turmoil that you're put through in those 9 books. The ending gives you the the happy ending that you want and need. Like it's a very extended ending, but I thought it was satisfying.
So, not the last season of Game of Thrones.
Exactly. No, there's literally I know I texted you. There's a 1 year later, 2 years later, 4 years later, 5 years after that. It keeps going and it gives you an insight as to what like every single character had or did
I feel like that's so
after.
nice because if I don't know, I love stories that end
It's cozy.
happily, but then yeah, if you get a little bit of insight as to like what happens even farther down the road, it's like a really great trash TV show reunion because then you're like, now I get to see where you're at.
It was very satisfying. I was for everything that you're put through. it was well deserved. It was like eating a cookie after a salad.
My favorite, a little sweet treat.
And
Is that
then I just 10 minutes ago finished the
we're
Song of the Marked.
scrambling on September 30th.
That first book took me 2 weeks to DNF. I was very swamped with work this month, but
Mhm.
it took me 2 weeks to DNF Divine Shallows, so it's a slow one for me. But I just
That's
finished
okay.
Song of the Marked by S.M. Gaither. It's been on my TBR for a minute. It was free on Audible with premium.
Yeah.
I almost DNF'd it because it was just kind of. And also, this is coming after Zodiac Academy audiobooks, which are fantastic.
Reading slump, listening
And
slump? Question mark?
yeah. And so, trying to get back into a new series audibly takes time and energy, and I just wasn't having it.
I agree.
Um, and again, the beginning of first books that set up a series just they're like slow to me and they're sometimes painful and I just don't want to deal with it right now. But in this world, our main
I think you're a bit
character
of an instant gratification kind of
a
person.
bit
I don't want to be rude.
a bit of one.
A lot
No,
of one.
definitely.
Anyway, continue.
In this world, there's a mysterious illness that's like infecting people, killing them pretty quickly. We don't know why. And we follow our main character, Cassia, who is a mercenary just trying to get by and help her mentor survive this illness. Nobody survives it, just like hanging as long as you can with this illegal medicine and stuff. And then the king finds her and wants to pay her a lot of money to help with the investigation of finding like a cure for this illness. And because she wants money to help her family, her found family, she goes along with the king. We meet some people, find some dark monsters, lots of fighting, magic, unsolving mysteries. There were definitely revelations that I did not see coming. They were jaw dropping, which I love in a book. I was not planning on going with the second book after this, but after the last couple chapters, I think I have to. It's one of those books.
It's one of those. They get you at the end.
Yes. I will say though, there was, it's like the big revelation that made me want to pick up book 2 is like the last chapter or second to last chapter. The third or fourth to last chapter, it was giving what everyone loved so much in Iron Flame, where Violet finds Xaden's secret and she's like, I hate you, and spends the whole book hating him or not trusting him. And it's like, it's kind of stupid. It's like, okay, you just had like 7 groundbreaking, life-changing things happen, but this is the one we're stuck on. Okay. It was giving that.
My biggest pet peeve.
I don't know if it's gonna do that in book 2, because that could make me DNF book 2.
I almost DNF'd Iron Flame, so.
But the revelation it has really, really good potential for book 2 to be really good, and it has book 1 has the lowest reviews. Like I said, it's a slower build-up book.
Is it finished?
I don't think so. It's longer
but at least
than
has
I
the
wanted
second.
it to be.
Has the second one out though? At least.
Yeah, it has at least 3 or 4 out.
What star rating did you give your books? I don't think you said.
Oh, I don't know.
1 here, a couple there.
I need to sleep on this one because I literally did 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna DNF it, and then I was like tolerating it, and then I was kind of enjoying it, and I really liked the ending. But like, I can't give the whole book a star.
Poster of emotion.
Yeah, I can't give a whole book a rating based
that.
on how I felt in the last
Yeah, because
couple
even though I
chapters.
really enjoyed even though I really enjoyed reading or like continuing to read Divine Shallows, I was like, I know what I have to do. I know what must be done. But I mean, sometimes entertainment for entertainment's sake, right?
Yeah.
Can't
And
really put a star rating on that.
that's the problem with reviews and ratings. Everyone craps on a
Yeah,
book
because
because
I
it's not
love,
poetically written or something, and it's like no, but it
yeah.
was entertaining and I enjoyed it and I had a blast reading it, so screw you.
I think there's a difference between a book that makes me feel stupid and a stupid book. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if I'm reading it and I'm like, I feel stupid because I cannot, whether it's because it's poorly written or the like plot is too heady, like I'm just like, I can't deal with this. This is too much or not enough of what I was looking for in the book, and then it's disappointing. Versus just like a dumb book that's a fun read, and it doesn't have to be like super intellectually, you know, the prose don't have to be beautiful, and it doesn't have to be like super grammatically correct, and it can sound like person to person dialogue instead of
Oh, for sure.
beautifully written. Yeah. I feel like I like to have a mix of that in my books that I'm reading. They don't all need to be um next to like Hemingway or Tolkien or something.
All right, you asked for ratings.
I did.
This will be fun. I gave a strong 3.5
You like that?
because I liked a lot of aspects and I really didn't like a lot of aspects and I had to force myself to finish it.
My favorite.
Um Zodiac Academy, I don't again, like I don't even know where that book started, but it was really freaking long and
I feel like
so
with
much stuff
series like that, it's like,
happened.
why don't you just give the overall? Like, what do you think of the overall series? Because you finished it.
The
I don't
overall
know if you need to like
series
generally rate every single one of them because there are 9 books.
and like 4 novellas and like 4 series that intertwine with it. I didn't read
And
it
we're
the right way. I
definitely
was
not
supposed to
starting
read a
one
different
tomorrow.
series. um, I would say I would say 4.5
Okay.
because it's written really well where it feels like it's good. It's fun to read. It's not overly complicated, but it's not like watered down.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like it just like it is a good time to read. It's not winning awards for its theatrics and like poetry,
Mm-hmm.
but like a variety of reading levels could pick it up and enjoy it. Just like the writing itself, the characters are like very well done. They all have, because it's 9 books, they all have really good character arcs and development. There's ups and downs and everything. And it did drag on a lot. But it wasn't necessarily like lulling, dragging on. Like there was something happening, but like something wrong would happen. Like terrible. And then we have to fix it. And then just when you
Yeah.
like fix it and you're like, okay, like why are there 3 more books? Something terrible happens again and we spend a book fixing it.
You're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
But nothing felt forced. Like some series they have like they like put a bow on the book and then you're like there's another one.
And then that third one just really lets you down, and then you
Yeah.
gotta pick up the
I
fourth
don't
one
think it
to
was like
culminate.
that.
That's good.
Um
It also might just be too raw right now for you to form a full
yeah.
opinion.
And the audiobooks are just really, really well done. It was like
I'm
listening to
excited to
TV.
start them.
It's like
That's
listening to
gonna really
TV.
help.
So it's definitely not for everyone. It's definitely a roller coaster. It's the most roller coaster series I've ever
I think it's nice though just to
experienced.
have it as like maybe not a forefront series
No, for
throughout your
sure.
like months or whatever. Just having it as like a tried and true. Like right now, I'm going through Throne of Glass, and I'm enjoying it, but I just haven't like I'm not picking up every book after the other. Like
Oh, I
I'm
gobbled
kind of
that up.
taking.
I
Just
put
trying to take my
everything
time
else
with
in the garbage and gobbled that up.
it.
Zodiac Academy, I did the audiobooks. Those were my designated audiobooks from 1 to 9. But I read
Dang.
physical books and Kindle books in between them, but
Yeah. Yeah, that is a long haul.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um all right, what else did we read
We did.
Empire of Dragons by Rachel L. Shade for book
Hmm.
club this
And we
month.
did a very, very spoilery
We
episode.
did a big deep dive, so go check that out. You gave it a 5 star.
I did, and I think I'm still stuck on that. I think about it. I've been thinking about it all week.
I gave it a
So,
strong 4.5. So not too
balanced.
far off. It's a dual POV where we follow two main female characters, one being a new empress, new because her mom was assassinated, trying to decide who she wants to be, if she wants to follow in her mom's footsteps.
And who her mom is.
Yeah. And then we also follow the
A
female
nun.
who the nun who assassinated her mom. So super fun. I loved seeing both sides. And it was not a sapphic romance dual POV. Some reviews were pretty negative because they thought that's what it was, and it wasn't.
I mean, if you look at the book cover, maybe you could gather that, but
I don't know. I think that is just like dual POV for romance is just very saturated right now in the
that's
book
really true.
world. This was a
This
quote
one was
normal
so,
dual POV
it was
where
so well done. Oh my
it was
gosh.
very well done. The world was so intricate and interesting without being overwhelming. The
Yep.
characters had depth and were distinctly their own people.
And we got mirrored slow burn subplots. Thank you. Both characters get a slow burn. I feel like Oprah, like you get a slow burn, and you. I was all over it. Oh my gosh,
10 out of
really
10
enjoyed it. Five
recommend.
5 stars, hard 5 stars, and I think I'm sticking with it. Unless the second book lets me down, then I will
Yeah,
revisit.
I definitely really want to keep reading that series.
Was that the last book that you read? Not the last one
Also,
of this month, but
no, I read Sky in the Deep.
look at that segue.
I
I've
was
been
going to let
waiting.
you take over Sky in the
Oh yeah,
Deep,
yeah, yeah. Let me
but I'm
well,
done like
okay, let me
so.
do my I'll go through what I read this month because I didn't read Sky in the Deep. But spoiler alert, I don't need to, and we're also doing hopefully a um a bit of a bigger presentation for this book with a couple of our friends because I also forced them to read it. I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, Empire of Dragons I gave 5 stars. Loved that. I also was reading I started reading Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb with my sister. I think she's like 50% of the way. I finished it today because I
Oh.
got it on Audible and I listened to that crap on 2 times speed, which for me is fine, but anyone else, it's very overwhelming what's happening. Even though the plot is very slow and there's a lot of learning you're learning about people through the bastard son of a noble prince who has been raised in the court but also like simultaneously being rejected and used by the royal family for his skills and also his low-key magic that he's not really supposed to have but definitely does have and has to keep a secret. Then he gets hired like 3/4 of the way through the book to be an assassin and just starts murking people left and right. So gritty.
But he's a prince.
So no, he's a
Oh.
bastard. he is not
Sorry.
like he's not formally recognized in the court except for the fact that he has this magic and he basically gets used as one would if they were like a bastard son of a prince who is like going to be noble and take care of him, but not really. So basically, um, I don't know. It was really good. There's a lot of political intrigue. It's a lot of learning each character and how they function, and you're learning this through his eyes because he's telling you from the future, but you don't really
It's so
know
interesting.
how far in the future, and you don't really know like why he remembers all of this stuff so well, but then some like details he's fuzzy on. So I liked the pacing, even though the plot is very slow and arduous. It's still engaging because you're like, I got to figure out what these people are about. And then the writing is incredible. I mean, I've heard such great things about Robin Hobb, so I wasn't scared about going into it. It's definitely a super heady, like the sentences are very much
Sounds
structured.
scary.
Gurdon would not like it. It's like two steps down from the King James Bible. Like it's not actually that like crazy, but it's very poetically written. It's but it's not emotionally written. Like it's very
Mm,
dry as far as
I
emotions
think
go.
that's where I'm out.
Because he's just like trying to figure out who he is. He's being told he's one thing. He doesn't understand why he doesn't understand why anything is the way it is, and no one's going to tell him, so he has to figure it out himself. It is really written in my mind. When I was reading it, I really felt like I was reading a mix between like Tolkien and Megan Wallen Turner, who is the author of the Thief series. I love that stuff, but it's just very emotionally dry and slow plot, and it
None
was
of that
boring at
sounds
times,
good
but
to
like,
me.
but I just want to know more.
Okay.
And there's 16 books. And
Okay.
it's like one of those things where like it's not like Zodiac
I
Academy.
was gonna say, you know what
However,
that sounds like the total opposite
it
of?
is it is, but it's one of those things where it's like when you look back down the mountain you've climbed of this series, you'll be like really happy that you did it. And I've heard nothing but great things about as it goes. So even though this might not be like my favorite book in the entire series, I've heard that you need to read every single one of her books in sequential order or like in specific trilogy order to get the full like scope of what she's trying to go for. So I think this will be another one of those like long haul, like 5-year plan. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
my
It
gosh.
may not be that long.
I wouldn't
I'm
remember
over
what happened
exaggerating.
in book one.
I'm over exaggerating. I am excited to pick up the next one, but it's not on my TBR for next month. And I might continue to do it audiobook because I think it's just nice to like listen to a monotone book. I'm so sorry. I'm so boring.
Put me
The
to
next
sleep.
besides Divine Shallows, I also read Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This book was such a ride, but like such a magical situation. It's morbidly entertaining,
Interesting.
and it's really heavy because you're following a couple of characters, but the main point of views are from a daughter named Cordelia and a house mistress named Hester. Cordelia's mother is a witch, or in this case, a sorcerer, and she is really good at manipulating people and making them do very, very scary things to get what she wants. And Cordelia gets wrapped up in that because she's basically her mother's like pincushion in like furthering this lady's plot. Hester is the sister of um Cordelia's mother's next conquest, aka rich man with big house. Um Hester is really funny. She's like this 50-year-old spinster who's just very self-aware, and her dialogue, like her inner dialogue to it had me like giggling, laughing. Like I said in my little like recap thing here that the giggling to gasping pipeline was a 10 out of 10 because I would be like laughing and then all of a sudden something terrible would happen, like a whole entire family maybe got murdered.
Oh.
And so, yes, exactly. So very dark and like gripping. The story, the characters, like I was very like fully invested in everything that they were doing. There's a ton of dialogue in this book. So, and when I mean like dialogue, I mean like dialogue. It's not, there's not a lot of world building or room describing. It is very much centered upon what everyone's saying because you need to kind of figure out where the story's
Huh.
going based on how they're talking, not like how there's no narrator or anything. So, oh wow. Very
Yeah.
good. I gave it 5 stars.
Wow.
It's super, yeah, I know. It's super, um, it's just super eerie, but the pace keeps you going so that you're not really dwelling on how dark the themes are all the time. So you end up, you're like smiling, and then you're like, whoa, something dark just like gruesome really happened, and I don't know how to feel about that. And then the next page, you're like, that was funny. So I I thought it was very nice. The vibes were very much. It's a Grimm's. I don't know if it's a Grimm's retelling as much as it's inspired by the Brother Grimm's Goose Girl story. And I think that T. Kingfisher just like did such a great job. I'm a new fan and I'm looking to like pick up some more of her work because it's just again, it's what I said, morbidly entertaining, which I like. I like dark but humorous. So,
It's interesting because that one is on my TBR at the bottom, but it's on there because I got an Owl Crate box of this book, but it has pink edges and a unicorn on the cover.
no, and it is so like that. Like there's bows and frilliness and lace and they're playing cards and drinking whiskey and then all of a sudden like something nefarious has, I don't know. It's not a who done it, but it's definitely how to take care of a problem. And I love the way that they're trying to like witlessly get through this. They have no idea what to do or how to handle the situation, and they just keep trying. And I don't know, the like inner dialogue between specifically Hester and not so much Cordelia, but very much Hester. She's just like a joy to read, even when things are going crazy. She's very relatable,
Hmm.
even though it's like stuck in the. I would say that this is pretty much akin to like early late 1800s, early 1900s. Like maybe there's indoor plumbing, but there's not full electricity kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not modern, but it's not like fantasy. It's definitely stuck in somewhere in the English countryside in like the early 1900s. So,
Hmm.
very much loved the setting. Highly recommend for an autumn read because it is very spooky, but also it's not scary.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't give me any chills. I was just surprised by some of the happenings. And then my last book that I did an audio book for on vacation, actually, which I have read this book way too many times because it's 78 pages, I think, in one version and probably 103 tops. It was 2.5 hours. This is Animal Farm by George Orwell. One of my favorite, like all time across the board favorite books. Um, my brother-in-law, who was on vacation with me, has never experienced this book.
I've never experienced
Um, it's not fun.
it.
It's fun to talk about it in the end, and I am not super political, but it's a good satire on political ideologies. And dude, I just really recommend it if you want to be totally overthrown by the characters in this book. It's the little description for it is Animals overthrow human rule on a farm, creating an ideal society, but their revolution veers into a totalitarian nightmare, a legendary political satire. So basically, what happens is they overthrow the farmer because they're like, we can do this on our own. We don't need all his rules. And then some unfortunate characters take total control and make everybody's life a living nightmare. And in the end, it goes full circle, and the shock is just insane.
All
So,
that in 70 pages.
for real, and George Orwell, he does it again. He's great. So, my watching my brother-in-law experience it for the first time was so funny. Listening to his like just his thoughts at the end of the book, he was just like, get when you get to the end of the book and you realize all the stuff you just went through and you keep bringing it up, you get madder and madder about it. It's just great. I love it.
I'm seeing a lot
But
of
yeah, I give
bacon gifs in the reviews.
that does actually really sum it up. I've read this book so many times. I had to read it as required reading for when I was in high school, and I probably have read it, I want to say, a good like 10 times. It's really short. I mean, it's like incredibly short, but it really drags you through the mud, and I highly recommend it if you want to be challenged and intrigued. That's all I read. But that's 5 books. I feel really proud of that.
Yeah, that's one a week, if
All
not
of them,
more. I don't know how
except for
many
George
weeks.
Orwell, were over
It was a
300
4-week
pages.
month.
So. Yeah, and I was on vacation during one of them, so I did like I was doing a little bit of this, like a few pages here, a few pages there, a whole book here. Like I don't, I was really in deep. Do we want to move on to our TBR, or do we want to
Or
talk about Sky in the Deep? Because
oh,
I forgot.
well, Miss, I've read it so many times. Do you want to give a synopsis?
Can I just give one off the top of my head?
Yeah,
Maybe actually I
yeah.
should. Maybe I should look this up just in case. I have read Sky in the Deep by Adrian Young and listened to Sky in the Deep by Adrian Young basically annually since it came out, and it came out in 2018. So, however many years that math is, a lot of times. This is one of my favorite books in the entire world because I just love how fast paced it is. She gets the characters right out on the page. You know exactly who you're rooting for, and you know exactly what's going wrong. And oh my gosh, I can't even. So basically, let's sum it up for us. These two clans, Viking clans, war. I think it's is it every
It's like all the
5 years?
time. I don't know. It seems like it's all
It's
the
it's
time.
it's somewhat 5 years. It's a 5 year
They have
cycle.
like
I'm looking at the
dates, and
Goodreads now.
they go clan v
Yeah.
clan in the same
So
field all the time and
all the
just
time.
duke it out.
It's just been generationally, their two gods have been warring. Their gods are only appeased if they go to this meadow every 5 years and duke it out. Um, and then they kind of just leave. They rebuild. They have more babies, and then they get right back into it. So it starts off where Elin, the main character, is fighting alongside her clansmen, and then she stumbles across her dead brother in the middle of a fight, and she doesn't
Alive.
understand what's going on because he died like 5 years previous in the previous war or battle or whatever this we want to call it. I don't actually know. It's just like a fight. Basically, she gets gaslit by her dad and her best friend to be like, no, that's a ghost of your brother telling you like this is a good omen for you to continue fighting. Like he's here to protect you. He's your guardian. She's like, okay, bet I'm gonna go try to find him again. So the next day she goes out and tries to find him, and then she gets captured by the enemy clan and taken all the way up to their freaking mountain village to be a slave.
Because you can't
But
leave
the
because it's too cold.
kicker is her brother is alive and he was rescued by this clan and made to be a brotherly figure in the house that she gets bought into because they're trying to keep her safe, but they're also trying not to make it seem like she's gonna have a good time because she's not. Come to find out. I love this book. Also, did I mention that there's a hot Viking? Super enemies to lovers. This is a 6-star read for me. Absolutely.
we
You can't read that book.
we haven't filmed the book club episode for this book yet, but
Just give me your like rough
no,
your rough.
you're just it's I gave it a 4-star.
Thank you. She hates me. I love the world that they're in. It's very much just Viking culture. It's not there's a little element of superstition or supernatural being, but there's not too much more than your regular Viking has a god complex kind of situation. Like they believe what their gods say, they do what their gods do, and they don't stray from that. And if you do, you get dishonored. So I have so many words for this book, but I will save it for our juicy wrap up. And actually, I'm gonna let y'all, the other people, talk about this because I could actually talk about it for forever.
All right, what you got for your hopeful
So many.
TBR for
So
October? I know I need to.
So many. I'm gonna rattle them off, and I'll say this for both of us because this is our at least one of our book picks. We haven't divulged the other ones. At least the first one, but this is a chonker coming in at like 600 pages or something. So maybe we switch up the format. Whatever. Never Keep by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti.
Yeah.
This is an offshoot of the Zodiac Academy
Same
realm.
world, different everything else.
The book description said uncovering a riveting enemies to lovers romantasy series filled with lots of dragons. I'm going to be keeping tally. Warring elements and wicked fate in a dark and twisted fey world. I'm excited. Basically what you've told me of Zodiac Academy, I'm excited, and it looks right up my alley. If you go to my TikTok or my Instagram within the next few days, you will see that every single one of my books I'm reading has a black and white or black and gold aesthetic, or all three colors. This one definitely fits into that, so it's gonna be into that, like, I don't know if we're gonna get a more academia vibe still with this one, but it looks like it, so maybe. But basically, every single one of my books on this TBR is dark academia. And I am not mad about it.
Go for it. Spooky season.
The next one I have, which might be a hopeful because it is part of a book club and I haven't bought the book yet, and I haven't decided yet. But it is Alexis Henderson's An Academy for Liars. I've heard so many good things about this, but I've also heard a lot of just pick it up and not exactly what's going on in it. So I don't know too much about what's going on. I like to stay in the dark for the most part. Excuse me. It seems like this is a Dark Academy. Drayton College, mastering the power of persuasion amongst the lush savannah. Ooh, we get to go to Georgia. Facing corruption in pursuit of absolute power. So if it's in Savannah, I'm guessing it's going to be really witchy and voodoo-y, and I'm excited about that because I do actually enjoy that. Next on the Dark Academia list is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I got this book at Powell's in Portland, Oregon while I was there, and it was like $8, and it's loved. It's not in pristine condition, but I don't know. I was excited to see one of her books on the shelf because Powell's is hit or miss with what it has. So I picked that one up. This one is a another secret society slash school, magicians, sacrifice, power. Those are the keywords I'm looking at. Oh my gosh, I have so many. Next is my sister and I's next read. So we're hanging up the Hob hat for the I think it's called the Farseer trilogy. That's the Assassin's Apprentice. We're gonna switch to Sabriel by Garth Nix. My sister listened to this book on Audible like 7 years ago and really liked it and wants to reread it. And I've always really wanted to reread it based on the cover. So the blurb says Game of Thrones fans, um, and
What
mystical
year was
world.
this published?
She's gonna make me Google.
I see your TBR and it looks like an old cover. So I'm just curious how old we're talking.
95. Older than me.
And for that reason, I'm out.
29 years old. um, which is funny that the blurb says Game of Thrones fans because, we don't know if that one's all the way complete. I know Sabriel's all the way complete. Dark secrets, deep love, and a dangerous magic await in this fantasy journey. It looks exactly like the drab, dusty, crusty I like. And I'm sorry, I will not be changing the way I read books. My sister texted me the other day. She's like, I think Jordan might like Sabriel. I said, no.
I don't think she will.
No. She was like, well, I mean, it's got like a faster. I was like, is it traveling? And there's no dragons?
You know what I think? I think we bring her in for Neverkeep.
I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. Shout out Ashley. But yeah, we're gonna try to tackle that one. We'll see. I don't recommend it to you. Half of the dusty crusty stuff I don't recommend to you. Sky in the Deep really was the only book I really, really wanted you to read.
Not
I'm
all
excited
books are for everybody. That doesn't mean they're bad.
That's correct.
It just
that
means
one was
they're
like
not for
that's
you.
like a rite of passage to like be my bestie. So now that you've done it, I guess I'll have to pick up. Is it Fireborn?
Yeah, we got to do Fireborn this month maybe, because that's a quicker read.
And I already have it because you gifted it to me.
So that might fit in somewhere this month.
And it's like red and like October-y, maybe.
It's not October. I wouldn't say it really holds any season. It's a fantasy
Even
book.
better. Mold it to what you needed to do. One of the other hopefuls, well, I guess my other two are pretty hopeful because they're books that, like Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, I've wanted to read for a very, very long time. I just haven't done it. So I'm like, well, if I'm already reading about all these freaking schools and societies and
you don't
witchery,
think you'll get confused? All these schools.
No, you know what I think I'm gonna do this time? I'm gonna read one book at a time, and we'll see if I only get 2 books into this month. We'll see how that goes. I don't know, because I really did have. But the nice thing about last September was I had a ton of books, completely different plots, so it wasn't confusing. This might get a little hairy.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why it's a hopeful. If not, it'll probably be on my November. But the other one is Zeus cursed her in Olympus' favorite city, San Francisco. The games gods play. This is nice. It's mythology. It's dangerous trials and deadly and stuff like that. So I've heard a lot of good things about this, but I've also heard mixed reviews, and I may or may not just be picking this one up because TikTok may or may not have told me to do it.
I heard mixed things on TikTok for that.
And it's on Kindle Unlimited, so it's literally free. I mean, it's not literally free. I do pay for Kindle Unlimited, but it feels free.
It's a waste with the amount of books that are on there.
Yeah, correct. And last but not least is something I'll probably pick up just because I really want to, and I'm sure I'll fly through it because I don't think we're doing a tandem read, but maybe we are. Empire of Traders, which is the second Empire of Dragons book. If you want to do a tandem read, I'm more than happy to do so.
It is on my TBR as a hopeful but not a pressing read.
So maybe I just clear that with the books then. We'll figure out where we're at. The first like 4 books are pretty chunky. And like I said, they all follow the same very specific school meets society meets multiple protagonists meets secrets.
You know, technically Fireborn fits into that aesthetic because it's kind of like an academy school vibe.
Well, then there we go.
Not as intense as Fourth Wing, but it's still there.
I'm excited for that one. I just haven't, like, I didn't start structurally reading until we started doing this podcast. So it's really helped me try to like get through or like at least organize in some way what I want to read. I did pick up a couple of books from Half Price Books the other day, yesterday to be specific. And I picked up Twilight by Stephanie Meyer because I've just really wanted to read it, and I wanted to read it since I was a wee little lass. But
those are pretty chunky, right?
Know anything about homeschool children? We got to stay away from the Harry Potter and the witches and the werewolves and the vampires. So that was on a no-fly zone for my mom when I was preteen, and then I was just like, well, grew it. Plus, I think the hype really killed it for me. But now I'm kind of just like, I want to see what's in those pages. I want to know what's going on. I love the movies so much, so I might as well just see the original works for what they are.
I might ruin the movie for you.
They are chonkers.
Not
to
ruin,
be determined,
but hinder.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. It's again, I think I have a structure of what I would like to read, and maybe
will it happen? No.
Maybe I'll be a little bit more of a mood reader. I don't really do that either. I'm very much like, if I'm reading a book, I'm gonna stick with it, unless it's absolutely killing me and I have to DNF it. Then I will.
I didn't think I was a mood reader, but I might be. I think it's more.
I would say as
energy
like
level reader.
That's I would say I don't love reading every single day. Maybe I would if it was like more cozy and I didn't have to do it on like my lunch break or something. But I'm talking about like what I want to read, not when I want to read.
Well, that's what I'm saying too. Like picking up a new series, I got to be in the mood for that because that's like world building. Where if I want to read something, I pick up a sequel if I'm like not feeling the headache of learning new things.
I can agree with that.
And I'll go through a Kindle rampage where I go through like all 20 books that are just on my Kindle and read the first chapter. If it doesn't grab me, next. I don't uninstall it or anything.
It's like Netflix.
Yeah, it is.
It's like you spend 2 hours doing that, you might as well have read.
I need something to just grab me and yank me in. And I go through like as many as it takes on my Kindle until one grabs me, and that's how I know what I'm reading next.
I feel like you also have a larger grasp of like what newer books are coming out, or you have like a finger on that. I don't. I'm still stuck in what was coming out when I was originally a bookstagrammer, like way back in like 2016, 2017. So those books, I mean, we're not totally talking like Cassandra Clare, but around that, I'm like, those books intrigued me when I was in that like starting phase. And then when my 7-year book slump started, now I'm like, I want to go back and read those books. Those were interesting at the time. I just didn't pick them up. So I'm also struggling with that, being like, I want to pick up new books and I want to pick up the ones that were on my TBR 8 years ago. And
no.
So I only have time, right? Like, I'll slowly chip away at all of it. But I'm excited for this month. I think it will, I'm hoping it will be a lot more productive
Me too.
of a reading month because I don't have anything planned. Like I had the long vacation and then I came back and my whole life was like really crazy to get back into. So
Yeah.
now that, and I was really just juggling 5 books at the same time. I think I'm not going to do that to myself this month, but we'll see. Maybe I'm like, oh, I'm not really feeling this one all the way right now. Maybe I'll just dip my
I
toe in
think I've
another one.
got 3 or 4 20%ers on my Kindle right now because I just
Whew, I have
I
one
leave them
and
for like a
it's
month and I'm like,
I
oh
can't do that.
yeah.
It's Assassin's. I can't do that because I'll forget, and then I'm like, now I need to read the rest. I have Assassin's Blade. That's like 30%.
That wasn't on your October TBR.
Nope. That's a that's like a off. That's like off the books.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna probably read it, but like it's
You're how
not
far?
30%.
And it's not a big book. It's just little
No, but I was,
stories.
but but Sorcerer's Come to the Call is so dark, and so is the Farseer trilogy. The first book, it was just like, I mean, Fitz, the main character for that book, has such a terrible life. And so I was like, I can't deal with one more depressing storyline. So I was like, I gotta put down the sad assassin girl for a second, pick up the sad assassin boy, and then also the sad abused girl. So just juggling my characters. That's it.
Hmm.
But that's all I got for
That's
my
all you got.
only. And you know what? And there's more. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly.
It feels like it. Looking at my bookshelf, it feels like.
For October, I am
Mhm.
going to finish Glow of the Everflame. I would like to start the third one
I believe in you.
because I
Tell
am.
the people why.
Well, the author, Penn Cole, is having a tour because she got traditionally published.
Whoop,
And
whoop.
Spark of the Everflame is getting traditionally published October 8th, I think.
So
And
exciting.
she is going to her old hometown Barnes and Noble, which I happen to live within an hour
That's
of.
so crazy.
So I am going to go because I did really, really enjoy Spark of the Everflame. It was one of those Kindle purges where
That is also
it
on
just
my
yoinked me from
off
chapter
the
one and I
table
read it in
TBR.
like a day. And so I need to I pushed it away, but I need to read Glow of
Well,
the
yeah,
Everflame.
you were finishing an emotional roller coaster mountain book.
Yeah. Yeah. Um
We gotta be nicer to ourselves this month.
no, my workload was atrocious
Yeah.
last month. So I'm hoping that this month I can get some old books.
There
Um
you go.
of Flames and Fallacies by Courtney Wims is an
Mm.
indie book. It was slated to come out this week, the end of September, but is now not? Question mark. I pre-ordered a physical copy, so that is coming. It has shipped. I am so excited to read it. But the author she got an agent and they're trying to get it traditionally published, so the e-copies and further orders are postponed.
Mm.
Let me find a synopsis for you. Our main character finds a dragon egg buried in her father's grave. Super exciting.
Oh.
So she begins to question everything she thought she knew and must return the hatchling to a secret dragon and
Okay.
finds a rebellion group with the dragon. So it sounds like a fun quest adventure with a hatchling, which could be fun. Maybe some revelations. It's a romantasy.
Nice.
I don't know.
It's
who
on my
that's gonna
TBR.
be.
I'm excited. Not, I mean,
Danger lurks
I
at
have.
every turn.
Ooh, that's the tagline.
One of those everything they thought they knew
is
is
wrong. I
wrong.
mean, um, is this a crypt we're talking about? Like, did she go visit her dad and
I
find
don't know.
an egg, or
It says
was she
buried.
she
I don't know why
raped
she
him?
digging up her father's grave.
That's
I'll let you know.
well, we'll circle back on that one.
I think it's coming next week in the mail.
All right. It looks
Um.
gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I love the cover. Yes, Neverkeep is on there. I wanted to have started it already because it's out. It's been out,
I know, I was
but
like waiting. But
I
then I was
have
like, I also have three other books to
I
finish
have
at
to
that time.
read the Everflame books as much as I can. Um, Until We Shatter by Kate Dillon comes out October 17th, and that's been on my TBR. That's one of those I'm gonna see if I like it. I love the cover
Mhm.
of it, and it sounds interesting. The current reviews aren't great, so it's a hopeful if that I like it, but we'll see. Yes, Empire of Traders. I really want to dive back into that world, but will it happen? I don't
Same.
know.
We'll see.
Bloodguard by Cece Robson comes out at
Yes.
the end, so it might not.
That's that
The
white and red
22nd.
book.
So I'd have a week to
Is
read
that
it.
right?
Yes, it has the sprayed edges.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure this book was unveiled shortly after Fourth Wing came out because Fourth Wing with the edges went viral. So then, like, the next book they did was Bloodguard with the edges,
Got
and
it.
everyone was like pre-ordering it because they were like, well, if it's anything like Fourth Wing because it also has sprayed edges, it's gonna be great. It's been its release has been postponed like a dozen times now.
I was gonna say, I saw a TikTok the other day that somebody was like, I'm emotionally scarred from this book and I haven't even read it.
Yeah,
So maybe it's the
because
anticipation of it all.
I feel like it was supposed to originally come out like a long time ago. I should have looked it up because it's been postponed a lot of times, and then even it had a release date of sometime in this summer, like June or July, and that date passed, and it was still listed as that date on like Barnes and Noble,
Huh.
and people were like getting really upset. But like Amazon had updated to October, and I think even then it was supposed to come out earlier in October, and now it's the end of October.
So
So I
maybe
don't
it's a
know if
hopeful in the way that we don't know if it's being published.
yeah, I don't know what's gonna come. It's 500 pages, bigger than I thought.
Sheesh.
But it is a gladiator book.
Okay.
The cover's super fun. I like the
Interesting.
cover. Um, and I believe it's a male main character.
Whoa.
I don't read those very often.
I know. And Gladiator.
Yeah.
I'm a
So
little
Leith
intrigued.
of Grey, Leith, Leith, Leith of Grey, thought coming to this new land and volunteering to fight in the gladiator arena would earn him enough gold to save his dying sister. He thought there was nothing left to lose. He was wrong. All Leith has left in his battle scarred body, fueled by rage and hardened from years of fighting for the right to live another day. Oh, fight is his scarred body, not in his scarred body. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then Leith meets Maeve, an elven royal,
Oh.
who is everything he despises. I wonder where that's gonna
Oh.
go. The alluring princess offers
Dang, I'm
him
gonna
the
have to put
one
this one
thing
on
he
my.
needs most, a chance to win the uncoveted title of Bloodguard and his freedom.
Mm.
So it is Gladiator, but it's also Elven Royals. So I don't know.
So it's not Roman, but it's like fighting in the games.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So maybe there's
Mm.
trials,
It actually
Hunger
sounds
Games
really good.
aspects, gladiators, Elven
I'll have to wait
Royals.
until it comes out
Yeah.
to get excited about it.
And then the last one on my TBR is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. Because
Ooh.
I
This
don't
is
know
the
why not.
same author who did
This
Once Upon a
is
Broken Heart,
this is
or no?
the author of Once Upon a Broken Heart
Okay.
and Caraval. Spectacular.
Both I have not read.
Spectacular. If I could bell. I think it's a holiday novella for Caraval,
Oh, Quizmacy.
which is interesting why it's coming out in October.
Probably just so they can get enough published time.
Yeah, because it's Welcome Back to Caraval. Snowflakes are falling. Holiday magic is swirling. Could be cute. It is 200 pages. So yeah, it's a novella.
Oh, not bad. That's
But
cute.
I both of those series are, I would say, controversial. That's not the right word, but people love or hate them.
Yeah, it's like it is
They're
a
pretty
50-50
varied.
divide.
I really enjoyed the worlds and the characters. There was lulls, there was questionable things that happened, but I really enjoyed the world and the characters of both. Like they're both very, very interesting. They're not the typical, there's a lot of romanticies out there right now, and they all
Mm-hmm.
feel very similar, whether it's vibe or landscape or whatever. Like all the I love Selena Sardothian. We've got a
Yep.
lot of thief main characters and
See, I'm going
mercenary and assassin
for
main characters.
the the studious secret society wears brogues and probably really nice trousers, and you're like, if they are stabby, I like them. I respect it.
But Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart, I have yet to read another book that reminds me of these books. They're very, I would say, unique and refreshing.
I'm
They were
hesitant
just a good
to
time
read
to me.
Caraval only because I'm scarred by. Let me fact check the year on this one.
I think the first book was the best book.
I'm personally victimized by the Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern, and that came out in 2011. And I just another book about a circus or a caraval, if you will. I don't know. I haven't. It doesn't strike me, but
That's why I never read it, because I was
but
like,
I've heard.
I
But
don't
I've
want to go to a
heard such
carnival.
good
It
things
sounds
about
goofy.
it. So I'm wondering if I should start with Once Upon a Broken Heart, get into the
You're
writers.
not supposed to, and I didn't know that.
Oh, well, if you did it, then I'm doing it.
I read Once Upon a Broken Heart first because that just looked cutesy and fun, and it was more relevant, and it was a good time. And then I read Caraval because, yeah, I was very turned off by like.
Would
the
you flip it and reverse
circus.
it?
I might.
Oh,
You're supposed to read Caraval first. It came out first. There is a the main love interest in Once Upon a Broken Heart is a bad guy in Caraval.
got it.
Ish.
Okay.
He's not the main, but he is a bad guy in Caraval. And so the very like first chapter of Once Upon a Broken Heart, he's like, "Oh yeah, this chick." And then I thought nothing of her. Read Caraval, I was like, "This sounds so familiar." And then I was like, "Oh, he
Fun
literally
fact.
was talking about Caraval in the first chapter of Once Upon a Broken Heart because that's where he's from." And I'm stupid, and I thought they were like totally separate series, and they're not.
Okay.
It was interesting reading it in reverse because, like I said, he's like not good
Yeah.
in Caraval. So like then seeing him in Caraval, I'm like not necessarily mad at him. He doesn't feel like a villain to me because I know how he turns out. So that was interesting. I will say, it makes a lot. I would read Caraval first because
Thank you.
it just makes more sense. Like when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, that's how that happened. Oh, that's where that person came from." Because I think in Caraval the gods are like not there, and then like in Once Upon a Broken Heart they're like kind of there, and
Okay.
the end of Caraval explains why they're there and how they get there. And
Okay.
so I'm like, oh, there was a lot of
So
oh
I
in
should
Caraval.
start with Caraval.
Yeah,
It's
it's all coming back to me. The first book of
Next
Caraval is
next
a
episode is
really
a deep dive
fun
on Caraval.
time.
And I haven't
Caraval
even
is a
read it.
fun read. It
That's what I've
takes a
heard. So I just need to like get out of my everyone's a smoker and everyone's wearing tweed phase, and then I'll bump right
when
over
you
to
want
the
to
really fun
stop.
fantastical
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. When you want to stop being reading your sad books, like you said, you're like trying to juggle your sad characters.
Well, here's
Do
my thing.
Caraval because that one's like for like it's kind of a
Yeah.
murder mystery, but not a murder
Okay.
mystery. But it's also like it's like a Willy Wonka murder mystery escape room.
That
Because
sounds absolutely terrifying.
you have like this, you do have the carnival theme where it's like,
Yeah.
but it's not a carnival. Like,
Clowns and
it's a
trapeze.
magical island of
Oh,
like
okay.
illusions. So it's like
Okay.
this good time. Like
Yeah.
think of eating the
Maybe I'll
lotus flower in Percy Jackson. It's like that.
maybe I'll you're a fake Percy Jackson fan.
I know.
Maybe I'll read it in the winter. The problem with me right now, and the problem with my existence right now, because it's so terrible, is that I live in Arizona and there is no semblance of, there's no fall or winter. Like, there's no season change. The only difference is the temperature, truly. Like, the leaves, they stay on the trees. There's frickin' palm trees and pools everywhere, okay?
Oh
So,
no, palm trees and
so
pools.
paradise is absolutely terrible. So, but as somebody
I
who
know.
lived for 5 years in the PNW, which is like perfect, Q Roslyn by like Bon Iver, like it's just perfect, dreary, misty, dank. I love it. Okay, it's overcast all the time. It's really lush and green. And then in the fall, it gets still misty and like dank, but it's orange and yellow and beautiful. So I'm just trying to use my TBR to just usher in any sort of
I feel that.
spoopy and cold and chilly vibes that I can, if I can't get them by walking outside. It was 80 degrees on my patio this morning.
This morning.
And I'm trying to read an autumnal book. Okay, so excuse me for escaping to the fall with my TBR. So maybe I'll make it towards my winter slash early whatever the heck January and February are, weather wise for Arizona, because I have to capture the fall.
That's all I got.
Hey man, I think that's all I've got.
She said, "We'll keep it brief."
We'll keep it brief. You know we can't do that. we both, okay. I thought we were gonna keep it brief on like what we read, but then we both had 1,200 TBR books,
Yeah.
all different. We just
We're
need
not
to
gonna
buddy
read
read
any of
everything.
them.
No, it's okay. It's fine. There's nothing to trim. It's all great. We'll just leave it there. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.